Leonard peeks at the clock, 5 seconds. Leonard makes his move. Oh! That's a man's jam! Kawhi Leonard! Gasol. The lead pass to Siakam! A rack attack!
Multiple punctuation points made tonight by the Raptors, who may have made a point in a larger sense as well tonight with a 36-point win over the Philadelphia 76ers. They've taken a 3-2 lead in their second-round Eastern Conference playoff series. It's Grant Hill right over there. The Czar, Mike Fratello. I'm Matt Weiner. Good to have you with us for post-game coverage here. And I expect deep analysis out of the two of you. After a game in which the Sixers trailed by as many as 40, and were basically from about the end of the first quarter on, not in this game.
So you would like us to break that down?
Yeah, that would be great.
I understand. Okay. Well, number one, I'm wondering if the outward appearance of Embiid is affecting the rest of the team. He looks ill. He looks sick. He looks injured. He's playing that way. And tonight, so did the rest of the team. And, you know, when you're a leader who is so good and really cannot be handled in a one-on-one type situation, when he's ailing the way Embiid is and he's showing it the way he is, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for the rest of the team. Because remember, they have some young pieces on this team who are just going through this for the first time or two. So I think as their leader, he has to try and show, okay, I'm going to do the best I can, guys. I'll give you as much as I can. But I think you have to be careful how you approach the bench, how you approach the huddles, how you coming off the court, because your looks can be very damaging to your team.
Well, he looks lethargic, right? Coming into the arena on the floor, even though he wound up with 13 and 6 in the limited minutes he was out there, although he played 31. What about Coach's point about body language and the message it sends? Because the entire team looked lethargic, and maybe that is a reflection of their best player.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I agree with Coach.
Twice tonight.
But no, I mean, you think back to Game 3, and his team was, fed off of his energy. From the start, he came out, both ends of the floor, was dominant. The crowd got into it. He's their guy. He's their best player and also their emotional leader. And so when he's not right, whether it being sick or something else going on, whatever the case may be, it affects that team. And his body language, a couple of errant passes, bad plays, it was written all over his face. And it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And obviously, like I said, a lot of it, was related to him being sick. But he just looked out of sorts. He didn't have the energy, didn't have the motor, didn't have the enthusiasm, made some unforced turnovers and bad judgment plays. And so it's unfortunate timing for Philadelphia, because this was a game 2-2 where you needed your best player to be at his best, and he clearly wasn't.
He had 8 of their 19 turnovers on the night. That's a huge number for any player, but particularly
For 31 points. 19 turnovers.
Right, for 31 points.
That's a lot.
But 8 turnovers by any player who's not, particularly one who's not a point guard, that's a huge number. So what do you do if you're Brett Brown? We talked about this in the pregame. It's become a game-by-game thing that Embiid is going to be questionable or probable or whatever. You're waiting until minutes before tip to learn if he's going to play or not. He's had 3 different diagnoses during this series so far: the knee soreness, the gastroenteritis, and now this upper respiratory infection. He's clearly not himself. How do you approach a must-win Game 6 now with your star?
What we don't know is how serious is the knee. And what I'm getting at is, if the knee's at a situation where they have to do something after the season, meaning surgery on it, to get that thing back right again so he can play, then they all know that already. He knows it, the doctors know it, the physicians and the
teammates.
Coaches, yes, and teammates too. So what do you do? If you shut him down right now, it's almost sending a message like, we don't have any chance at all. We've just shut him down. He's done for the rest of the series. But maybe they're hoping that he can give them that one game to extend it one more night, that he wakes up and the knees calm down a little bit and the rest of the other stuff clears up for him. And they're just kind of playing it day by day. And that's all you can hope to do as a coach. I mean, you prepare them as best you can. It's it's terrible to not know if you have your guy playing or not have your guy playing, but that next guy who's taking his place or the adjustment in the lineup, if you know he's not going to play, whatever that adjustment is, they've got to be ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough in a lot of ways. I think early on, Game 6, go to him, try to establish him, see where he's at, see his body language, his energy, and then maybe, depending upon how things are going, you maybe pull him out. But the problem is, where do you go? I mean,
Right.
Greg Monroe has not been effective in this series. Mike Scott's been up and down, and certainly Mike Scott is more of a space the floor kind of player. So this team relies so much on Joel Embiid,
Right.
Being engaged, being active, being at his best. One thing I will say, and obviously we're talking about Embiid, but Ben Simmons, I mean, his numbers, 7 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, but more so his usage out there on the floor. The ball has really been taken out of his hands, and I know trying to get Butler more engaged in screen and roll opportunities, and they made that adjustment before Game 3. But look, Ben Simmons as your playmaker, your point guard, has gotten you this far.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to figure out how to get him obviously out in open court and transition, but also, go to him in the half court, post him up, get him engaged. But it's tough. I mean, if you don't have Embiid at his best and you have Ben Simmons not playing to his capabilities, and it's delusional to think you can go on the road and beat a very hot Toronto Raptors team.
And Philly really didn't get out and run in this game anyway, and that's where Simmons is at his best.
Well, let's go back to the midpoint in the season where Toronto had enough farsightedness to say Valanciunas isn't good enough up against Embiid to give us that edge going into the playoffs if we meet up with them. So they do a big deal. They bring in Marc Gasol, who's a big-time defender, makes shots from the three-point line, and has been there, has been through a lot of battles and wars, okay, a very difficult series. So as a result of that